Yeah, no, we can.
Brendan
So
Rabbit says, after all, it's Friday.
that's true. Well, let's go back to what we were discussing. We only wasted about 6 minutes here, it looks like. So
Okay.
we'll go back and these people think that they want to buy a laser if they're still watching us, although I can't imagine that anybody really is. But hey, you never know. Maybe they are. So
So
they want to buy a laser. I mentioned I'd owned three. You've owned multiple lasers. You've reviewed lots of them, and I started to say that's how I found you is through one of your reviews on YouTube, and that's how we met. So
yeah, what happened to me was I was more of a woodworker, started to make some really nice cutting boards, and I wanted to be able to engrave them with something other than the wood burner's stamp. So I ended up getting a diode laser, which I paid for, X-Tool D1, pleased with the machine, would recommend it to others to buy if they wanted to start off in the diode world. And
mhm.
then I started, because I'd done a review, I started to get diode lasers from here and afar, just bombing me every couple of days. I get a new diode laser at my front door to review. So I did
Mhm.
probably 10 of those. Each one of those I ended up giving away to teachers, STEM programs, things like that. I would take the sample that they gave me and send it away. Then I went to CO2. I purchased an Eon Nova Mirror 7 Pro, and
Mhm.
that's still out in my garage. It's an excellent machine. I love it for a bunch of different reasons. Um, Houtian Laser has sent me both a 30 and a 60 watt to review. I don't theoretically own them. The 30 watt I sold to somebody on behalf of Houtian. I just repackaged it and shipped it and sent it to New York. I have a 60 that is in a 60 watt fiber tower style laser that I'm reviewing right now. Yesterday, I did a run of 30 flasks for one of my friends that belongs into a car club. They gave me
Wow.
they gave me the flasks, and a great way to do the test. I don't like doing a review where I've only had the machine a matter of a couple of days. That's not really much of a test. So that review will be coming. So yeah, I've owned a couple.
Well, and we'll get into this in a minute when we talk about costs and expenses, but I actually purchased another laser this morning.
Did you?
It's coming from China. It'll be interesting to see what I get. Actually, I bought two lasers. One of them was $149 and the other one was $143. So
Hey, I reviewed about a $350 little diode laser, and it wasn't constructed as nicely as the D1. It wasn't as high quality. I didn't think it was going to last as long, but the laser head was great. It worked really well.
I bought an 80-watt diode head this morning from China. Now, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I had this crazy idea. Could I attach it to my CO2 laser? But I don't know. But it was $143 for an 80 watt. I think at the very least, I can change my little Creality 40-watt diode. I can change the
Mhm.
head out maybe and put it on there. We'll see. It was $140. I go out for a meal with my wife, and if we have a couple of drinks, it'll cost more than that. So it's, in the scheme of things, I guess it wasn't that bad. So anyway, these people think that they might want to buy a laser of some type and get into business. Um, let's talk about the things they need to consider. They need to, they need to look at what, why do you want to buy this? Is this something that you're going to use for hobby, like both of us do? Or are you going to use this for a business? I think that's probably the decision number one, don't you?
Well, I really agree with that. And I think that's probably the fast decision. The
Mhm.
second decision for a lot of people, you and I may be a little bit different because we grew up in a generation where we made skateboards out of 2x4 and two old metal wheels.
Yes.
Now skateboards are high tech. Well,
Hmm.
we're born tinkerers. A lot of people aren't. So what they wonder is if they can do it,
Hmm.
and if they learn that this is mostly about a computer program. If you
Yes.
can learn a computer program, you can do this.
Yes.
Um, if different laser companies, like I'll use Glowforge as an example. They have a proprietary system that is cloud based. You have to be online to use it. If something happens to either your internet connection or something happens to Glowforge, that laser is not going to work.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
So now, how do we get around that? In the industry, the international standard is Lightburn. Uh,
Yes.
most all of the machines that I have reviewed at least say they're Lightburn compatible. Sometimes when they go to make the shift over, the coding in their controller is not good enough to handle it. But Lightburn is the way to go.
Yes.
I would probably listen to a couple old salts like us and then confirm what we say. Trust,
Yes.
verify. I will only buy and use Lightburn. I started with Lightburn, and they have a diode only system. I think it's about $60 or $70 to buy
Yeah.
it.
$60. Yeah.
Yeah. So then if you step up, I think it's another $60 to go to
Mhm.
CO2 and about another $70 if you go to fiber. Now here's the thing. Each time it's the same program, it's just being configured to work with a different type of controller. So you
Yes.
don't have to go out and relearn it.
No.
And if you decide that you're going to move from one machine to another, I was at the International Sign Convention in Orlando, and some of the bigger machines are now talking about going to Lightburn. And
Yes.
it sounds as though one of two. This is just like what I'll call industry buzz. In the CNC router world, the system that I think is the most popular is made by Vetric. And
Mhm.
there's VCAR Pro and Aspire. Those are, again, different levels of the same program. So it sounds as though they're going to try and merge one program that will do both laser and CNC,
Yeah.
because they're starting to utilize lasers to do 3D carvings on metal and even wood. So
Yes.
we're going to see some changes, but I would probably want to go and realize it's going to be a program. And if I learn the program, I can stay with the same program for a long time. And Lightburn's
Mhm.
one of the most reasonably priced items I've seen. I made a very stupid mistake yesterday in Lightburn, went into a forum within a half an hour. I had an answer to how stupid I was. And I had
Well,
to go back. And I have met the head of Lightburn. I met him at a couple of events with Eon, and he was also at the ISA show.
yeah.
And Jason responded back, and I had to go in and go, Jason, I apologize. Totally my fault. I already knew this. I wasn't paying attention. I was trying to rush. So
Yeah, I actually saw your post and I thought, God, did they get rid of that feature? And surely they did. And I started to dig into it, and then I went a little further and I saw several responses. Oh no, you're just trying to use an image. And I thought, yeah, okay. But it's an easy mistake that you would
yeah,
easily
somebody
make.
had taken and given me an SVG file, but it converted it to a PNG. So
Yeah.
I had seen it before as an SVG. I just imported it. I didn't give any attention to the file extension. It was just me.
Yeah. Well, I think the lesson coming out of topic one here is that if you're going to buy something, we would both strongly, strongly recommend that whatever you buy, make sure it is fully compatible with Lightburn. One of the lasers that I owned for a short period of time claimed compatibility, and I don't mind telling you what it was. George and I have had a little bit of different experience on this, but it was an X Tools P2. The X Tools people, it was a well-engineered machine. I'm not going to fault them on that. It was a good machine. It was small. It was, for its size, very powerful. I had a lot of fun with it, but it was not fully compatible with Lightburn, and it just wasn't going to work for me. If you're going to do any serious work, if you're going to be in business with one of these things, you've got to have Lightburn. And I know there are people that will probably send us nasty comments and letters and say that's not true, but take it from two people who've kind of been around the block. You need Lightburn, and it's easy to learn. It's not a tough program. If you're using other computer software, if you're using pretty much any software anymore, Lightburn's as easy to use as Microsoft Excel or Microsoft Word. I mean, those are completely different programs, but you're not going to have a problem. It's pretty basic, and you'll be able to use it for any laser that you buy. And the amount of knowledge you gain on one laser will transfer to another. And just as George said, if you do have any kind of an issue, go to one of the Facebook groups. You'll have an answer in 5 minutes. It's amazing how much support there is. So beyond that, George, I guess what are key features and specs that you think somebody needs to look at if they're going to buy
Well,
one of these things?
using myself as an example, I went into the diode world and I looked at all the machines. I looked at the quality. I looked at what I thought customer support was going to be. And Xtool had come out with a D1 that was a 20 watt. And I wanted the 20 watt machine. Well, I got in touch with them and I ended up buying the 10. It was a fine machine and they worked out a deal with me because there was a little confusion in the delivery date of the 20 watt and said, why don't, and they volunteered this. They were very fair. They said, why
Mhm.
don't we give you the 20 watt for free or not free for half price? I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'll go for that. Not a problem at
Mhm.
all. So I used the machine. I was very happy with it. I would recommend it. So now what I would ask you is what diode machine did you buy? Because I know you kind of went on the same path.
I did. I bought a Creality Falcon 2, and it's actually sitting here next to me. I don't use it a lot. I like the machine. It works really well. I think I paid, it was on sale, the price has probably come down a little bit since I bought it, but I think I paid about $1,200 for it. Very capable machine. It's slow. It's not very fast, but you can cut wood with it. You can cut acrylic. You can engrave. The nice thing about diodes is you can engrave metals. If you mark them, you have to use a coating. There's a couple of different ones, Ceremark and Brilliance, that you spray onto the metal and then you use the laser to etch that metal. You can also use stainless steel and you can use the diode lasers to do some color marking, which is a very specialized thing. But it's a great little laser. I can't complain. I liked it. They've improved it. They now have them where they have sort of an enclosure. And my biggest issue with it was that whenever I cut wood, and I cut a lot of wood, um, it smells. There's no way in the world you can keep the wood smoke smell out of the garage or your house using their fabric enclosure. So one of my projects someday is to build a proper enclosure for it that will be properly vented and I can use it more. So it's a fun machine. There are people using it for business. As I said, it's going to be slow. It'd be a good way to start. I
So,
think, yeah,
so if I was looking for commonality, we both bought machines that were about $1,000 to start, and we
yes,
were happy with both of them.
yes,
Both of them ran on Lightburn,
yes.
um, and it made things better. So we kept going on to more machines.
Exactly. I soon discovered that I would like to, um, try a CO2 machine. That's kind of, that's where most people end up, I would say there, or a fiber laser. And that's how I found George. I saw that he had toured the Eon factory in Florida, which is, I happen to be in Florida. So it was about a 3 hour drive. I watched George's YouTube video. I made an appointment, drove up there, looked at their machines. They're a great company. They make a very well engineered machine. Probably, in my opinion, if you want a CO2 machine, probably the best one on the market in terms of reliability. I'm going to give them that. I didn't buy one, um, not for any particular reason. I actually ended up buying a used one that from a company or from a guy who bought it from a company, Omtech, Omtech. And I can show you a picture of it. I've got it right there. You can see that's it. It's got a sign in it that I'm doing for my brother at the present time. But it was a 130 watt machine. It had a 130 watt tube stuck into an 80 watt machine. And the guy that owned it had screwed up everything on it you could screw up. It did not work when I got it, and I bought it for a very reasonable price, and I got it working, and I've done lots of upgrades to it. So that was my path to the CO2s.
Yeah, I want everybody to know that as Bruce and I have talked behind the scenes, we don't care what machine you buy. We'll try and give you some pointers on what our experience was.
Mhm.
There this is to me kind of like the old argument between Ford and Chevy.
Mhm.
Um, my truck's better than your truck. I just be happy we all have trucks. I saw a
Yes.
meme on Facebook not too long ago, and it says it used to be against Ford and Chevy, and now it's all of us against electrics.
That's, and I have an electric car. Yeah, I can understand that. And prior to that, I had a Dodge Ram pickup. So yes, I certainly
Well,
understand that.
I'm telling you, those Tesla trucks, they're ugly. There's no change in my mind. They're
They
ugly.
they are. I actually have a deposit on one. I probably won't take delivery of it. I think they've got a lot of problems. But I like my Tesla. I've got a Plaid, which is incredibly fast.
Oh yeah.
Um, Yeah, no, back to the CO2s. I think one of the big differences in companies, all these are made in China. And what you're getting if you go to a bigger company that's US based, Omtech just brings them in from China, takes the crate and ships it to you. So if you have a problem, you're going to be dealing with China. And if you're a tinkerer, that's fine. There's plenty of support on the internet. You're going to be able to find people that can answer any kind of question. Both George and I spend lots of time on Facebook answering people's questions about problems they may have. But you're going to need to be a tinker if you buy one directly from China, which some people do. I don't necessarily recommend that, but you can. Omtech, you're going to need to be kind of a tinker. You need to know what end of a screwdriver to hold. They're not, they're very reasonably priced. If you're not that person, if you just want to buy something and use it, you need to buy an Eon, which they have wonderful technical support, I'm told. Everybody speaks highly of them. Boss Laser apparently has very good technical support. Thunder Laser has great technical support. And then you move into some of the really crazy priced machines that I can't imagine anybody buying, such as an Epilogue. I mean, that you spend $30,000 for a machine that an Omtech would be 3,000. They're literally 10 times more. And there's a couple of others, and why people buy those, I have no idea. But you kind of need to decide how much work you're willing to put into it if some little minor something goes wrong. And if you're a tinkerer, buy the cheap machine. If you don't really want to do that and you just want to use it and call somebody if there's an issue, you're going to need to spend a little more money and buy an Eon or a Boss or a Thunder or something like that.
So one of the things that I always, was always a consideration to me, and I find it as a consideration out in the public, how big is this? When I think maybe in one of the videos you saw in a review, I actually took the dimensions of the machine, took tape and laid it out in my garage.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up buying the smallest of all the machines.
Mm-hmm.
And then I looked at the machine, like maybe if you go over to your machine, some people will see the chiller to the side.
Yeah, let me put that back up.
All of it takes up more space. So sitting on top with a water bottle there underneath next to the hose is the chiller. Well, I'm in a small two-car garage, and I've always had a pretty decent car, and I want it in the garage at night. So that space was very important. Now, you can get involved in lasers if you don't want to go CO2 and go to a fiber, or you can get a Galvo tower CO2 machine. So is the reason that you would look at, say, diode, Galvo, CO2, they're all different frequencies and they all do different things with different materials. But you can get a CO2 that is a tower model, like a drill press, takes up the least amount of room. And they'll do things like tumblers, they'll do wood, leather, but the amount of space that can be engraved is going to be more limited based upon the lens and the tower height of the laser. So
Yes.
if you're looking for, a space consideration, you really want to get involved. That's one. Another one, but you wouldn't be able to use Lightburn to the advantage that I'd really like to see you have, is the new X-Tool F1. And
Mm-hmm.
it would sit literally, I mean, when I say you could put it on your kitchen counter, you could. I mean,
Yeah.
they're a tiny little machine and they'll do small things. I've had one and tested it. I was impressed with it. I didn't think it was going to last very long, but if I was using it commercially, I was pretty sure I'd get my money back out of it. It was
Yeah.
the type of thing that I would call a backup machine, where you have a screwdriver and your favorite screwdriver and then another one. Well, this would be the other one.
Yeah. The $149 laser I bought from China this morning is about the size of half of a loaf of bread, I think. And it's 3,000 milliwatt. And I think they use that so that you don't realize that's actually 3 watts. So we'll see how capable it is. It can't be very capable, but it'll be fun to play with. I plan to do some sort of a quick review on it and probably get more laughs than anything.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
it'll be fun. So,
yeah.
and
One of the
$149, how wrong can you go?
yeah, one of the other things that I didn't understand when I first started, and I get questions on this all the time, is different laser beams have different diameters. You can think
Yes.
of it as like a needle, a pin, and then a 1/4 inch dowel. Every one of the different frequencies has a different size. Now, the diode laser is really good for doing photorealistic
Yes.
engravings,
Yeah.
because the size of the beam is so small. CO2 is bigger, it's more versatile in a certain way. Like, I had a bottle that I engraved. It took me an hour and 15 minutes to do it. I had to paint the bottle with a substance. So what it was doing was it was going through the substance and microabrading the glass. Then I just
Yes.
washed it off. I put like finger paint on it.
Hmm.
And so when I found out that I could accomplish that in 3 minutes, I was using the bottles and putting happy birthday on it, sticking like $10 bill in it, and then taking a bottle capper, putting it on for another $10. You could make, like party favors for somebody, put $1 bills in it and then put $100 bill and say, bobbing for bottles or whatever. You can make it, a fun little hobby thing.
Yeah. Well, I
And
think this is a good place to probably talk about budgeting and price points. I mean, if you're looking at this, you know what your budget is. Um, so you need to decide what that might be, and that kind of determines what you're going to get into. I mean, if your budget's $1,000, you're probably looking at a diode laser. If it's $3,000, and I've got some pictures here and the prices here. Let me put these up right quick. That's essentially this machine that I've got. And I don't know if you can see the price, but it's $3,700. That's got more features. You can actually buy that machine for about $3,000. Very capable. It will, you're going to need, as I said, you're going to need to be a tinkerer to kind of use it in some cases, although a lot of people will buy it and really not have many problems. But it's best if you can tinker a bit with it. You can buy that, they'll have them on sale for under $3,000. And it doesn't take a lot of product if you're selling some sort of product that you're making on it to pay back $3,000. And if we move on up, this is basically what I think George has. This is an Eon. And as you can see, that's what, $7,500. And they do have sales, I know, and you can get specials. So if you look for them. But this is a machine that is highly capable. You're going to buy this. You're not going to have any problems with it. You're going to set it in your garage or your workshop, and you're going to start cutting and engraving and making things. And if you have a problem, you'll be able to get somebody, from my understanding, and get people on Sundays sometimes. Is that right, George?
oh yeah, um, they underpromise and overperform in customer service, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that, what I tell people is pick up the phone and call. Is Eon in looking at this ad, they've put down everything that you get, and they come to a final price. If you go back to the OhmTech picture, there's no water chiller in that machine.
That's
Yeah,
true.
and there's no light burn,
Yeah.
and there's no shipping, and it's
Yeah.
you will get a feeling for the approach of the company and the way they price their product.
Yeah.
So, and that was part of what I went through. I looked at OhmTech. I spent half my time in Yuma, Arizona, and the other half in San Diego. For me to drive an hour and a half to talk to OhmTech, I wrote them a letter and said, I've been doing these diode laser reviews. I'm thinking about buying an OhmTech. Could I come up and maybe even do an interview? They never even responded to the email.
Yeah. Yeah. No, That's that's true. There's a different level of customer service
Yeah,
in these
but
machines, and yeah, there just is.
in all fairness, Bruce, if I had an Ohm Tech sitting out in my garage now with what I know, I can make it fly, I think.
Oh, sure. Yeah, you
But
know,
I
you're
don't have it where I was when I started, not at that point of the learning curve.
yeah. So again, as I've said several times now, if you like to tinker, if you're handy around the house and you can fix your toilet, you can probably buy an Ohm Tech. If if you're a housewife or you're somebody who wants this as a side hustle and somebody says, "Hand me that Phillips screwdriver," and you don't know what they're talking about, you need to spend the money and go buy an Aeon, a Thunder, a Boss. And by the way, I went and visited Boss Laser as well. Very good machine. They're both located in Florida. I visited both companies. They're not far apart, actually. And, again, for various reasons, I didn't buy one. They're in the same price range. I would give if I were buying one of these and I may get nasty grams, I would go with the Aeon. They do a lot of the engineering apparently in the US and then have it constructed in China, and it in my opinion is the better machine. So that would be my choice between the two. And then Thunder is a very well regarded machine, also in that same price range. And I have no experience whatsoever with Thunder, but I just know a lot of people like them.
You have a comment up here, holiday ornaments. You guys are way ahead of me on technology. That's only because we've been doing it a bit longer. But interested in the kind of products that I might make and sell if I bought a laser printer, possibly on eBay. Thanks. Well, a laser printer in the old days, those would shoot ink. What these do is they're burning. We yesterday when our chat failed, we were talking about buying patterns and
Hmm.
things to make. If you could maybe tell the story about how you made the little coffin,
I
I think Holiday Ornaments would really appreciate that because it's something probably in her bailiwick that would move into another season for her.
This is not the one. This was a inspiration, and I'm going to tell you about this. It's an amazing lady. Uh, Somebody came up with the idea of making coffins using my laser, and it started out. We were talking about maybe doing this for pets. Somebody's pet had died, and that progressed into other things. And I said, well, I could make those with my laser. That wouldn't be a problem. Long story short, I bought a file on Etsy and I modified that file to this real fancy, and I don't have one, little coffin about the same size as this one. This was the inspiration, but it was much, much fancier. And we got the crazy idea that you could sell these to someone that was maybe a cheating husband or cheating wife, and it would have a voodoo doll in it. So I pawned this idea off to somebody else because I didn't want to do it, but I said I'll make you some of these coffins because they liked them, and you can handle the rest of it. You get the voodoo dolls, you can make the whatever, I'll just make your some boxes. I got a call a couple of days ago and it said, "Hey, I'm sold the last one of those voodoo boxes, and could you maybe make some more?" And I said, "Well, I'll do a few more, but there's a local guy in your town that has a laser that would be more than happy to have the business." And I think I told George this. The box, when you removed the lid, when you opened it up, there was a voodoo doll inside, and this actually has another small box inside, but it was inside, and in here I engraved. It said, um, "Honey, if he's been cheating on you, you know where to stick those voodoo pins." And then on the outside, I engraved a bunch of funny sayings and funny pictures, and apparently it went well. I don't know if they were sold on eBay or Etsy where they were selling them, but they apparently sold these things, and they're needing more. So, and I think the price I think was George. I think it was like $50, and I think the voodoo doll they were making themselves, and I know the little coffin this size. I probably had, oh, I don't know. I must have had maybe $5 worth of wood in it, and it would cut these out. It'd cut one out in about 15 minutes, and then it would take me, 15 minutes to glue it up. So, it's a crazy idea. I mean, who would have thought of that? And but it all started with just an idea, and apparently these things are selling. Who would have guessed it? You
There,
know?
there is a box pattern maker that's online. You go in,
Yes.
put in the dimension of your box, and it
Yeah.
will actually make the box for you.
Yep.
You take that, put it onto a light burn, and hit go, and you're cutting a box. Well, I cut some of those boxes, and I decided what I would do was I would put a slit in one of the boxes and then seal them all. And then I
Hmm.
called it a problems box. And I put different things around the side of it. And I said, when the box is full, put it in the fireplace.
Hmm.
And I actually gave one of them to the CEO of Eon. It's kind of a joke. I says, think you can make any money selling problem boxes? He laughed. He said, dude, I need a much bigger box. I'll
Yeah.
commission. And
Yeah.
I says, well, I could just walk over to one of your crates and, like cut a hole in it and you can fill it up. But this is such a fun hobby, and in the personalization marketplace, there's big money to be made. I know people that will go like to Father's Day and they'll go
Hmm.
get an East Wing nail hammer and have their dad's name engraved on it with a fiber
Hmm.
laser. They'll pay $40 to have that engraved. It's going to take about 5 minutes to do the engrave.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's and if you're fluent in light burn and know your machine, it's about a 5 minute setup.
Yeah.
So there's money to be made. I'm going to say it's more seasonal at most of the gift giving times. But one of the things that and no one wants to touch this, but it's true. Things that are political, off color, or religious all sell all the time.
Yes. I
So
just I just put up, for those that don't know, I just put up an image of a fiber laser, and we've kind of just brushed on that. A fiber laser doesn't, as George said, doesn't take up much space. They tend to be a lot more, well, they can be a lot more expensive. They will run, for one that's really usable, you're going to need to spend, I would say, probably $4,000 or $5,000 for sure. They go up to about 10,000 for one that's very capable. And I've also got some video. I'll stick that up here. Um, this is a fiber laser in operation. It's actually engraving a gun slide, and they're really fascinating. What you can't hear is the sound that it makes. It makes this sort of Star Wars kind of sound. George has one, I have one, and they're used for engraving typically metal. There are other things that you can engrave, but and they're normally used for engraving any kind of metal. And here you can, I don't know how well you can see it, but it's doing very deep engraving on a gun slide, and they're used a lot for guns, knives, industrial applications. Even jewelers will sometimes use these to make, um, things, jewelry parts. So yeah, that's it's another area that you can get into. And then also UV lasers. Why don't you talk about UV lasers, George?
Well, I was going to say, if Holiday Ornaments is still listening, if I were going to go into business, and I'm just a hobbyist, I love this. It's a great hobby. Um, I spend too much money on it, but it's my hobby. I'm retired. I do what I want to do. I would buy a UV laser because it will engrave glass as quickly as that fiber laser was engraving that metal, the gun stock. If I would go out and I'd go to like Dollar Tree store, I would buy some dollar pint glasses. And if you can buy them for $1.25 at Dollar Tree, if you really were doing it commercially, you could buy them probably for half that price.
Hmm.
I would go get the graphics from one of the local sports bars. I go set it up on a UV laser, and bam! All you have to do that is stick it onto the jig or the rotary device, however you're going to do it. Stick it on there, and boom! A matter of 30 seconds later, you have a glass. You have a product,
Yeah.
and something that is individualized. If they have a nice enough graphic, one of my friends in San Diego was doing it for a brewery. Their glasses were getting stolen. So what
Hmm.
they did was they cut it down to 50-50. Then they went down to none and started selling the glasses for $12 a piece.
Yeah. Yeah.
They were buying them for 5 and, making $6. They sell a beer, they make $4. They sell the glass, they make more money.
Yeah.
People wanted
Well,
the
that's an area we've talked about. I mean, the UV laser market, and those do go on up. I was actually looking this morning, even buying directly from China. You're looking for something, if you're looking at anything that's very capable, you're buying it even from China, six, seven, eight, $10,000. But that is an area that both of us believe is underserved. And George is right. Engraving on glass, which is what these are best at, is something that, and I think it's probably because of the price. You don't have a lot of people who buy those. They're somewhat new. And that would be a great market for somebody to get into, because every bar in the United States, you could walk in there, I think, and sell them, beer mugs with their name engraved on them. And he's right. So,
Yeah,
speaking, yeah, speaking,
wineries to get that, you go and do a
absolutely,
sampling and, they sell you the glass for $4, it's unlimited.
yeah,
That would be the area that I would go, because I think there's the least competition in this market.
yeah.
If
Well,
you should, it would
yeah,
work.
we kind of touched on the different materials and compatibility. Let's kind of go through. We've talked about all the different kinds of lasers. Let's kind of just be a little more specific briefly and talk about what they're good for. We talked about diode. Diode will cut wood just fine. My little 40 watt will cut 3/4 inch solid oak. You can even engrave stone with them. I've seen people do that. Coasters, there's a big market for coasters. They will do tumblers. You can do almost anything that you can do with CO2, you can do with a diode. It's just going to be a lot slower. Diode laser, they're great to start with. The CO2s, wood, leather, not so much glass. They're not great on glass. I mean, you can. Some metals, if you mark them. Um, Cardboard. I mean, I've seen people cut cardboard with them, which you would think something that's burning wouldn't be good at cutting cardboard. Oh, acrylic. You've done a lot of acrylic, George,
Yeah,
with CO2.
I needed a rotary device. I had a rotary device, but I needed to elevate it. Well, I came up in my mind with a way to elevate it with 2 rollers and just take a piece of T-track. And I did it. I showed it to the engineer, and he goes, "That's some damn elegant engineering." I took what is normally a $150 accessory, and I turned it into, a $750 accessory for the matter of a little bit of acrylic.
Yeah.
Um, I have made drill centering punches. I've made, and this is big in the marketplace. One of my favorite wood stores in um, Phoenix, I'm going over in a couple of days to see them. They're giving away a free, like, charcuterie board,
Yeah.
acrylic paddle if buy like $500 worth of wood, because they're
Hmm.
normally $30.
Hmm.
The acrylic, if you buy it properly, I buy scraps from a place called E Plastics in San Diego. It's dollars per pound.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
so I've made some things for my workshop, for the wood shop. They're just incredible. There's a router slide. I made a router slide. I spent about $225, and it's really nice. I have a video coming out on it. The next closest thing you can buy is online with all the linear rails and everything is $550, and mine's better. It costs $200, but I
Hmm.
had to have the laser to do it. And
Yeah.
he made his out of acrylic. I made mine out of acrylic. He went a little cheap. I know how much acrylic costs. I wasn't in business, so it's like, I'll spend another $3 on acrylic.
Yeah.
Watch this. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's one of the things that I really like. But there's machine shops use these for prototyping,
Hmm.
pattern making. When you talked about cardboard, I have actually cut and made boxes and engraved very lightly a stain, which was my return address, and then
Hmm.
put a piece of tape over it to protect it. It delivered. They're like, "Where'd you get that box?" I
Yeah.
made it.
Yeah.
I made it. I have a friend, and she's worth following. She has an engraving company and teaches people how to do it. Her name's Hope Yoder. She says, if it don't move, engrave it.
Yeah, no, it's if you're using it just in your workshop for hobby, the only thing that I use more than my laser cutter and engraver is my 3D printer, which I actually have going. That's a 25-hour print right there. It's about to finish up, and it's making a part um, for my laser cutter engraver. It's making a new exhaust nozzle. I've gone through a couple of versions, and this is the latest iteration. So I love my little 3D printer.
Quit putting that up there because you're making me want to buy one. And I've said no more tools. I actually have a router, a new computerized router table out in my garage. I've been down with a cold for a couple of days, and I haven't felt like I was strong enough to go out there and tackle doing the job. But and then I keep a notepad, and I suggest everybody do this. Well, I was drawing out some legs for a coffee table that I'm going to make, and I went to show my girlfriend, and she flips over one more page, thinking that there's more stuff. On there is the list of what I want for my new Nova from Eon. Like, what are you doing, George? And I said, well, they got the red line, and I don't know, I could sell this one. And so, in all fairness, I'm an affiliate. I have an affiliate relationship. If anybody buys and mentions my name, they give me a little bit of money. So, I'll call it my hobby money. I could just convert that right into another machine.
Well, nobody gives me money for anything, so I haven't gotten that far yet. Let's go on to the next topic, which I think is our last one, which is finding your niche and some marketing strategies. I discussed the one with the voodoo casket, uh, and we've discussed the glasses if you had a UV laser. But I think when we didn't the failed episode we had yesterday, we spent some time talking about the fact that you don't have to be an artist. You don't need to be creative. The voodoo box was something that I bought off of Etsy. I think I paid either 99 cents or 2.99. I made modifications to it that were easy. I added some funny sayings and things like that. But I'm not an artist. I'm not that talented. And you can take these things and modify them a bit. You just need to find something that, as the old saying goes, find a niche and fill it. And I can tell you, and George and I talked about this yesterday, and I'll pull this back up. Um, that's my laser, and you see it, if you can see it there, it has a sign there. It says Sparky's Hideaway. That's for my brother. And people come out of the woodwork when they find out you've got one of these things, and they'll want you to do things. Well, the same thing happens whether you're charging for it or not. If you're not charging for it, you're doing it for fun, that's one thing. But the neighbors will come around and say, hey, George, could you do this? I mean, I need this. And you can say, well, yeah, for $50, I can do it. And I think we talked about this, and I did in a previous podcast. I was in a nice steak restaurant, and they had this little wooden skewer that was in the steak, and it said medium well. And I asked the manager, I knew the manager, and I called him over and I said, what if this was engraved with the name of your restaurant on it? I said, would you like some of those? And he said, oh, yeah. He said, that'd be great. And I said, well, what would you pay for something like that? He said, I don't know. I mean, it'd be pretty nice to have that stuck in our steaks. I said, well, what do you pay for the little stick now? And he said, well, I don't know. We get them from some place that probably gets them from China. And he said, they're like, I don't know, 10 cents a piece. And I said, well, if it was $1, would you pay it? Oh, yeah. I mean, this was a place that is selling steaks for $60, so another dollar, they're not going to miss that. And he said, oh, absolutely. So, you could buy it for 10 cents, sell it for $1. And I bet any good steakhouse would have bought them. Now, I'm not going to get in the business and do that, but you, the viewer, you, the listener, could. And, there's a lot of ways to make money with these things. And George, talk about some of the people. I know you know them better than I do. There's some people making serious money with these things.
I think the way most of the people that I have seen create successful businesses out of this, they all travel with a notepad. And when they started, they all traveled with a notepad, and they saw different products that they liked. And then they would kind of sample to see whether it sold, kind of like what you just did. And they said, okay, now what kind of machine do I need to make that? And they go, okay, I need a CO2 for that. And then they'd go to another thing and they'd say, oh, well, I need a fiber for that. After they wrote down 20 or 30, they figured out which one they liked the best and thought would be in balance for them, the one they'd be most excited to have, and they went and bought it. And I never really thought of cutting acrylic and making tools out of mine. But as a woodworker, knowing the value of templates, I can start cranking out templates, make that machine pay for itself like that on an Etsy store. Just go in and get a really nice charcuterie board or some other little jig pattern. A lot of cutting boards have underhand grabs. Well, that's done with a router jig. It's made out of acrylic. All you have to do is make that. If you've mastered light burn, and you don't even have to master light burn, you could call somebody like me and say, hey, George, I need that pattern. 5 minutes later, you got it. It's that simplistic. It's not that hard. A lot of people will say, okay, now I know I can make this, but I don't have the computer skill and I want to start right away. So they go buy some patterns. Their pattern cost could be a matter of $150. But it's getting the piece, getting your notepad and say, do I want to do this? And then calculating it out. You'll be a success. If you go to an already existing business, they all got a notepad. They're all walking around with something that they can take the new idea with and expand.
Right.
So now, maybe not the hourly worker, but every one of the managers is.
Right. Well, the point is you find a niche and you fill that, and that's always been the case. And some people are good at that, some aren't. And if you're the kind of person that can spot opportunities where others can't, you can make serious money. I know there are people in this business who are certainly making a lot of money. They're grossing in the millions of dollars a year. They're not just one. There are some that are doing more and in surprising ways, things that you might not think about. And I'm not going to share what they are because they told me in confidence. But some of those people that are artistic are making a lot of money selling their work on Etsy. There are people who are paying, you would be surprised, 99 cents, but there's a lot of people paying 99 cents. There's hundreds of thousands of people because and if you don't believe me, go to Etsy, click on, type in, you would probably need to type in SVG files or laser files, and you can find all of these files and it will tell you how many are being sold, and it will shock you. I mean, it really will.
I found some flasks that I thought were very well priced. They're a powder coated or painted stainless steel flask. They're like $3.90 a piece. I bought 12 of them in a group, and I was going to use them potentially for my girlfriend's son's birthday party. Couldn't get it all worked out, and I struggled with it. I couldn't make the laser work. Finally, I mastered it. Took like 4 or 5 of these I screwed up. So now, for a business person, to lose a $20 blank is not that big a deal, but I lost about $20. Now I've got it down so good that people come to me and go, I need 30 of these. I say, buy them off of Etsy, bring them over, bring a couple of beers, and we'll stand out in the garage and we'll just kick them out. It takes 2.5 minutes a piece to do them. They sell them for $15 on Etsy. So, I don't want to, destroy the business, and I'll only do this for a friend, but why not? It's educational. It shows people that they can do something and puts a lot of goodwill out there. And that's really what we're about. We'd like to see more people do something for themselves, and especially people that are our age, get off the couch.
Yeah.
You may be retired. You ain't dead. You can make this pay for itself. And I'm really excited. After I go to Phoenix, I'm going to Sedona with my girlfriend.
Yeah.
It puts me in the loop. I go to all these different places, and buy wood and, and learn about this stuff. I mean, to me, this is a great retirement. This is better than having a job.
Yeah, I had a job once. I didn't much like it. The cool factor is, and we've been on here about it an hour, counting the part we screwed up at the beginning. But don't forget the cool factor too. I think George will tell you the same thing. And when I finish this live stream, I've got a dinner party to go to at my neighbor's house, and invariably somebody say, "Well, what do you do? You retired?" "Well, yeah, kind of semi-retired." "Well, what do you do? You play golf?" "I don't play golf, never have." And they'll say, "What do you do for fun?" "Well, I tinker around in my shop. I make things." "Oh, well, what do you make?" "Oh, I have a laser cutter and engraver." And when you say laser, the cool factor, your coinage in the world of Mr. Fix It just goes up, because it's like, "You have a laser in your garage?" I said, "Yeah, I've got three of them. I used to have four, and now it's three, and I'll have to tell them I've got one ordered from China that's $149." But yeah, and then all the questions start. Well, what do you do with it? Why would you have a laser? And yeah, so it's kind of cool to be able to say that.
Yeah, the Mr. Fix It is, I'm very popular. My
Yes.
girlfriend's son is a very successful financial planner in the Los Angeles area. And he says, "Oh, I can't fix that, but I know who can. Where's
Yeah.
George?"
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I'm the same way. Well, George, we've covered all the topics. I guess that's probably about it. We've taken up about an hour of everybody's time. I know we had a few people watching live and asking questions, which is great. I love it. So we'll be doing more of these in the future. If you've got any uh, any thoughts about what you'd like to see, go to the comments section, leave comments, send us, go to George's Facebook group. It's Laser Freedom, Speak As You Wish. I've got a new site that I don't think I even have anybody that's joined it yet. It's Edge of Innovation Workshop. You can
Is
also
that on
find
Facebook?
George's, yeah.
That's on Facebook?
Yeah, it's on Facebook. I don't know
Okay,
that I
I'll
even
go.
have
I
anybody
didn't
following
know.
me
I
yet.
didn't know it went active. I'll go into my group and tell everybody.
Yeah, it's active. There's nothing on there yet, so I started it up, and you'll find this live stream on George's YouTube channel, which is under his name, George Kenner, and mine is Edge of Innovation Workshop. So tell your friends, tell your neighbors, tell people you like, tell people you don't like, and hit the like and subscribe button. We both need them.
I'll talk to you later, Bruce. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks. Thanks
Bye.
everybody for joining us. Bye bye.